Hello ladies and gents, boys and girls, my name is Jack, welcome back to the bike channel and welcome out onto the road. We've done this video before. This is a reload of a previous video which was the Triumph Thruxton TFC review. Reason why we're doing it is because the audio didn't really come out very well, and I've had a couple of comments about the audio not being great video, not so great audio, and I just wanted to put that right basically. So we have come to the same piece of road as we started the last video. We are on the road inbound to Sevenoaks, which you can see on the sign over there. It's the A225, and it's a beautiful day. Absolutely not a cloud in the sky. Well, maybe a couple of clouds in the sky, but it's an absolutely stunning day nevertheless. And we're going to get on the road and I'm going to talk to you about this, the Triumph Thruxton TFC. So, a little bit of a break in the traffic. On I get. Up with that. Clear all around. And off we go. Hopefully you're going to see, or hear, look at this thing coming up. A significant improvement in this audio today. So, the TFC. Why did I buy one? Well, at the time I was on another Triumph T120 Bonneville, which was a great bike. Absolutely loved it. It was the silver and red tank version, 1200cc, same engine as this in terms of capacity, but it was the 1200T version, which is the high torque version of the bike. Absolutely loads of power. The second you twisted back the throttle, off you went. Gorgeous looking bike. I added absolutely everything to it. So I had pretty much the catalogue, opened it up, and anything I could put on it, I put on it. Engine dresser bar like I've got on this, but in chrome of course. I chromed the entire thing out, all the engine casings, everything that was that really nice brushed finish. I changed it to chrome. More of an upright seating position. This is much more of a racy position, but I've gotten used to it now, so to me it's not such a thing anymore. I came across the TFC by accident really. It was in June of 2019, so the launch had already been, and I have to admit I hadn't even heard of it, but they were just starting to deliver bikes out to dealerships, and I looked into it. And the more I did, the more I fell for it. First of all, I love the heritage of the Cafe Racer, particularly the Thruxton model. For me, I think the Thruxton model tops all the Cafe Racer models of any manufacturer, both in looks and finish and everything else, but this one looked particularly nice with its big Cafe Racer inspired fairing, and just love the idea of having a modern classic, or a bike that looks like an old bike, but was actually full of the updated gadgetry and materials as well, like carbon fibre. I was also seduced by the fact that there are only 750 of these bikes worldwide, which is an extremely low figure, very, very low production number, and I thought that that would make riding it feel really special, and I wasn't wrong. It's a very, very nice feeling knowing that you're riding along on something you're very unlikely to see out on the road at the same time as you. So yeah, 750 of them made worldwide. This particular one is number 460 of 750. And to look at the bike, one of the ways that you can tell is by the numbered plaque, which sits on top of this machine billeted top yoke, which is absolutely spectacular. I do like the top yoke of the your normal Thruxton. That very high gloss chrome. But when you look at the workmanship and the craftsmanship and the design involved in this top yoke, it really is special. It's also got a TFC bit of branding adorning it on the right hand side. So yeah, very rare, and to this day I've not seen another one out. So I've seen in person a TFC Rocket 3, but not this one. The other thing I think is special about having a Thruxton TFC is that it is indeed the first ever TFC. So although the Rocket was unveiled, it was only unveiled as a bit of a concept. And the officially the first ever TFC was the Thruxton, and rightly so, I think, because the Thruxton, I think, is pretty much the top of the Triumph lineup, both in terms of sales, but also in terms of heritage and everything, really. I may be wrong. That's just my view on it. Someone else, next person, will have a different view. So what makes the bike so special, apart from the fact that they've only made 750 of them? Well, an incredible amount of work has gone into this bike, considering that there are only 750 of them. They've done so much work to the engine, you just wouldn't believe that it would be worth it for such a low run of bikes. They've worked on the cylinders, they've worked on the cylinder heads, they've worked on the pistons and the piston heads, put low friction coatings on everything in the engine. They have added a magnesium cam cover. They worked on the crankshaft. They've made the crankshaft lighter, reducing the inertia by 18% over a conventional Triumph Thruxton, perhaps the Thruxton R. They've also done a lot of work to the exhaust system, so it breathes a lot better. Cleared any potential disruptions to the airflow of exhaust gases. I mean, they can get rid of those gases quicker and more efficiently than on the next model of Triumph Thruxton, or the preceding model. And that's before you even talk about these tailor-made for this model Vance & Hines titanium exhausts with the carbon fibre end caps that were made specifically for the TFC. They've also reduced the weight across the board, both in terms of the materials that they've used for the bodywork, but also a lot of work has gone into reducing the weight of the engine. I think they've got about 5 kilograms of weight out of the engine itself. This was achieved in a number of different ways, but one of the ways was just to bore out or thin out the engine casings, which seems so obvious when you think about it. But kind of makes you wonder why they didn't do that in the all going wrong here. Kind of makes you wonder why they didn't do that in the first place with all Thruxtons, but they've done it to this, and it contributes to a 15 kilogram weight reduction overall for the model, and that is including the addition of effectively more bike by making this front fairing standard for the TFC. Of course, lightweight composite materials like carbon fibre has been used extensively, and this both adds to or reduces the weight, but it also adds to the aesthetic hugely if you are a carbon fibre fan, which I am. So the carbon fibre components that are on this bike, well, let's start from back to front. So of course you've got the carbon fibre end tips on the exhaust. But you've also got carbon fibre heel guards. You've got a carbon fibre rear section to the removable seat. You have a carbon fibre front mudguard, and you've also got, of course, the carbon fibre front fairing. Now, not only is the front fairing special because of its material, but it is a bit different to the part that you would get in the brochure for a Thruxton, or a non-TFC version of the Thruxton, in that it's one whole piece of carbon fibre. Nice Ferrari. Now on the Thruxton non-TFC, this front fairing comes in effectively three parts. So you've got the left, a little bit in the centre, and a section out on the right, whereas this is one whole piece of carbon fibre. Believe me when I tell you, you do not want to damage that, because that would not be cheap to repair. It wouldn't be cheap for a number of reasons. One is, of course, the material, but secondly, the work that has gone in regarding the paint scheme on the front. So, paint scheme. I mean, you could almost be forgiven for thinking that, or be forgiven for thinking that the TFC just has carbon fibre elements because of the paint scheme. So you've got the black paint is on top of the carbon fibre, and then you've got the raw carbon fibre, but in between them it's punctuated by this beautiful hand-painted gold coach line, which is perfect in its imperfection, in that if you look really closely you can see the brush strokes within the paint, and where the chap has had to round a corner, you can see that it's not got that level of perfection that you would get from a robot, and that's really nice. Really nice touch. Apparently there's only 6 people in the world that do that, and every single time that one of them paints one of their tanks, they do it on the T120 as well, but every time they paint a tank, they sign their initials on it. So that just adds to how special it is. Now of course I'm only talking about the fairing at the moment, but there is some of that stuff, some of those hand painted gold coach lines on the tank, and also on the rear section. What I'll probably do is put up a still of that so that you can have a look. The black paint itself is a very, very nice, highly metallic paint. If you want to go. Never mind. Yeah, and in the sunlight like this, it just absolutely pops. It's really, really special. Which prompted me to get a full paint protection film on this particular bike, because I just don't want it ruined. I don't want any scratches. I want it looking like it has just come from the paint shop, which it does, even though I've done about 3,000 miles on it so far. Let's move on to components. So the TFC, not only did they do a lot of work to the engine, and also do a lot of work regarding materials and finish, they also went to the top shelf and picked out the very best components for this bike. And it all adds to the performance. So first of all, let's start with brakes. This bike has a full Brembo braking system at the front. It's got M50 calipers, which are Brembo's 4-piston monoblock calipers, and they squeeze on 2 discs at the front, which are both Brembo discs. And they'll squeeze those when you squeeze the MCS radial lever right next to my right hand here, which is a fully adjustable lever. You can adjust the biting point and how strong it bites, etc. So yeah, full Brembo system on the front. On the rear there's a 2-piston Nissin caliper and a single disc, I believe. So that's the braking system. On a Thruxton R, you normally have the Showa big piston forks up the front, whereas on this you've got the Öhlins setup, the full Öhlins setup, front and back, with on the rear the Öhlins piggyback reservoirs on the shocks, and then up the front, like I say, you've got a Öhlins set of forks as well, which are the Nix 30 forks, which are a very, very high spec front suspension. I believe it's the front suspension that they have on the Moto 2 bikes, but you'd have to fact check me on that one, just ad-lib that little bit. Really, really nice, great compression and rebound, can't fault them, it's all you need really. Of course fully adjustable. Now I did mention about the exhaust system. So this Vance & Hines system is specifically designed for this TFC. In fact, it's got a plaque on it saying Vance & Hines for Triumph Factory Custom, just to prove it. So you will not find these titanium slip-ons with the carbon fibre end tips on any other bike, just the Triumph TFC. Let's talk about branding. TFC branding is a little bit different to your conventional Triumph branding. Well, it's a different take on the branding, but it's fairly similar. But the different take is that they use a lot of black and gold, which is in keeping with the colour scheme of this bike. So all over the bike you will find the Triumph shield, you know, the very conventional triangle shield with the half of the Union Jack in there. But the difference is that on the TFC, all of those shields are surrounded or bordered with gold. So you can see that there's one on the between those iconic twin dials in the cockpit. You've also got one either side of the fuel tank, here and here. And I think there's one on the rear as well, just above the rear, just behind the rear seat. And there's also some TFC branding on the left-hand side down here, and we've also got TFC TFC shield, I guess, on the right-hand side on the engine casing as well. Even more than that, there's a TFC branding on the key, which is a really nice touch. Just personalised it a little bit more. I think maybe they could have put TFC on there, written TFC, but they did make the triangle gold. So that is a nice touch. How does it ride? Well, really nicely. The changes that they've made to the engine, they've got a higher combustion pressures. They've also got higher compression ratio. Thruxton R has a compression ratio of 11 to 1. This, they've increased it to 12 to 1. And all that leads to a higher red line by 500 RPM of 7,000 versus the 6,500, I believe, on a Thruxton R. It also contributes to higher peak figures. So the horsepower figure on the TFC comes in at 108 horsepower with 115 Newton meters of torque. And apparently, according to Triumph, the torque is much more spread out through the range, but it does peak at 4,850 or so RPM. That's your peak torque RPM. Because of the lightened internals and the less inertia in the engine, as well as the composite materials and the overall lightening of it, it handles very well. Really, really handles nicely. It's perfect for little country lanes like this, or B roads, even A roads. It can hold its own very nicely. Of course, the suspension setup is excellent, and you get plenty of feedback through the handlebars. Owing to the fact that they've put on the Nix 30s versus the Showa Big Piston, that actually requires that the clip-ons have to be a little bit lower. So they're actually about 1 or 2 inches lower on this than the Thruxton R, which, when you first get this bike, and if you're not used to it, it can mean that it's a bit risky around town. But there is a bit of room to sit yourself more upright if you hold on with your 3 fingers and straighten your back out, and it's not so bad on longer rides, owing to the fact that you can get some speed going, and in that position get some wind on your chest and lifts you off the bars a little bit. So yeah, I'd say maybe around town a little bit risky, but you know, going down an A road or an M road or whatever, it's absolutely fine. The sound from those Vance & Hines slip-ons is brilliant. Don't know what they've done to the TFC to make it happen apart from the slip-ons, because the baffles are in, the baffles are homologated. You can't remove them, not that I would, but they managed to get this really nice, really sweet exhaust note, and on the overrun it's just cracks and pops and burbles perfectly. Not anti-socially, but just really nicely. It sounds really nice. I'm sure you'll be able to hear it through the microphone I've got here, but yeah, really, really nice on the overrun. In terms of lights, you've got a full LED system front and rear. Some of the purists who really want the cafe racer look, they might not like that. It is standard. I'm sure you could probably switch them out, but if you want the real cafe racer look, a lot of people prefer the bigger casings with the filament bulbs, but I like the LEDs personally. LED turn signals, LED brake lights, but most nicely, I guess, this isn't very good English, but whatever, most nicely is the LED front headlamp, which has this really cool daytime running light, and that was new for the TFC. It just looks great, and of course, you know, the dip beam and the main beam being LED, they're very bright, so you get really good view of the road at night. And we have had a more recent Triumph Thruxton come onto the market since the TFC was launched back in 2019. And that is the Thruxton RS. I did worry about that coming to the market, because I thought to myself, well, the whole point of having a TFC is that you've got the most special version, and you've paid for it, the most special version of the model run. And I did worry that when the Thruxton RS came out, that all of the research and development, everything that they figured out and learnt and applied to this bike to get that 108 horsepower over the, what was it, 94 or 96 horsepower of the Thruxton R, all of that work will just go into the next version of the bike, the RS, and then subtract a little bit from the TFC. But amazingly, although I'm sure they did use some of the technology, but amazingly, when the RS came out, the TFC remained at the top of the tree with its 108 horsepower, as the RS came in at 103 to 104 horsepower. So I'm really grateful to Triumph for that, because I'm sure I speak for all TFC owners, because it would have been a real shame if you've gone out and bought what you think is going to be the top of the range, and then, you know, another variant comes out which is supposedly less desirable, but yet it's got more power. So yeah, good news when the RS came out, and it came in at less horsepower. When you buy the bike, it comes with loads of stuff. You get a little leather. Whenever you buy a Triumph, you always get a backpack, a Triumph backpack, but this one is real genuine leather, TFC branded. The documents sort of envelope thing, that is TFC branded as well. Of course, the key and the spare key are TFC branded with that gold rim to the badge. But you also get, which is two things which are really nice, or three things actually, really nice touches. One is you get a TFC branded custom made cover for the bike, which is an indoor cover, dust cover effectively. You couldn't use it outside. So that's one thing. You also get a very nice booklet, which is effectively shows pictures of a TFC on the production line, but the booklet is numbered and it's specific to your number here. So in the book they've got the 460 for me of 750 written in the book, and the VIN number and everything else, and it's just got some really nice pictures, really nice little collectible, I guess, just to add to the whole experience of buying a rare bike like this, or a limited edition bike like this. But the best thing of all, I think, you get a letter from the at the time, I think he's still the CEO of Triumph, Nick Bloor. You get a letter from him, which is signed by him. It's got your number on it, it's got your VIN number as well, and it just says congratulations on buying the first of an all-new lineup of bikes, TFC, Thruxton, you know, and then it talks about the performance and the materials and everything, and best of British and all the rest of it, and it's signed by Nick Bloor. So you can pop that in a frame, and just adds to the whole thing. To be honest with you, I think that's probably where I'm going to leave it. I'll probably be on my ride home later and come up with a whole host of other stuff that I could have mentioned and didn't, and I'll be kicking myself. But if you're a regular viewer of this channel, you'll know that I've got lots of other videos, both about and on my Triumph Thruxton TFC. If you're new to the channel, please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. I can't tell you enough that it really helps the channel out, and it also tells me that I'm doing an okay job, because I'm quite a new YouTuber. In fact, the reason I'm reshooting this video is because I'm so new that when I first shot the video I didn't get the audio quite right, so I hope it's been much clearer this time round, and I hope you join me back on the bike channel, the bumpiest road ever, back on the bike channel, back in the garage, or back out on the road for another video very soon in the near future. Until then, stay safe, ride safe, and I look forward to seeing you back on the bike channel again very soon. Thank you, goodbye.